So, hello everyone. Welcome, and we are glad for everyone's presence for this interview. I am Augustus.
And I am Adrian. We are from the Philippines, and we are leading a youth organization that helps climate vulnerable communities get water and energy access. And today we're hosting a really special conversation with someone who has been deeply involved in shaping global conversations around energy and sustainability.
So, today's episode is special and meaningful because we are joined by Mr. Dario Liguti, Director of Energy, Housing and Land Management Division at United Nations in Geneva.
Today, we will be talking about the Youth Voice competition, the global platform that brings together young innovators working on real solutions for a just energy transition.
So before we jump into our discussion with Mario, allow me to acknowledge everyone who is joining us. So we have Jia Jia and Meow Meow, hello, and David. And there will be more who will be joining us for this discussion. So they'll just come along.
And with
Great.
that, we're really honored to have you with us today.
Hello, Dario. How are you feeling right now?
I'm very well, thank you. I hope you do too. Although, the world is not right feeling very well these days.
Yes, that's very true. And I think that really highlights the important work that all of us are doing right now, trying
Indeed.
to change policies, trying to, influence everything just to make the world a better place. So I think we're just gonna jump directly to the question. So I think just to give a little context to for everyone or for the audience that we want this video to give to. Can you tell us, Dario, a bit about how your day to day life as someone who is leading, really leading the change in the United Nations? So,
Sure. So not one day is equal to another one. They are all different, and most of the times they're very surprising. My days. So I do spend my time around many things. There is, if you want, there is a lot. I spend a lot of time around communication. This is an example around communication. So to talk to people, different audiences, whether it's young people or member states delegates or experts or other people around the world about our work and what's needed to bring the energy transition forward. So that's a large part of my day. There's another second large part of my day, which is supervising and working with the team in managing the intergovernmental processes. The United Nations is an intergovernmental organization. We are sitting here in Geneva, and we have member states, ministries of energy, and we work with the Minister of Energies of member states on the issues that they want us to work on. And so there is a lot of coordination and a lot of substance work that we do. Many member states ask for our support on specific issues, and so we want to provide that support to member states. And so that is a large part, another very large part of my work. And then finally, if you want, there is as well, I do spend some time in fundraising and looking for new resources to engage in projects, because the requests coming from member states are always bigger than our own resources. And so we do spend some time in looking for donors, in looking for partners that want to work with us on supporting, and on responding to member states' requests. And this is another large part, particularly given the UN financial situation that we've been going on for some time right now. This is crucial. And so this is, and then and then you have the topics, the actual what's going on, and particularly right now with the crisis in the Middle East and the impact of the Middle East wars on the energy space is taking up a lot of my time, because looking at the understanding what's going on. Secondly, estimating, projecting, trying to figure out what the future could look like, and then proposing recommendations and supporting requests from member states and from other stakeholders around what should be doing to minimize, to mitigate the impact of this energy crisis around the world. And so that is, it does not plannable. That is something that it happens. And then every time that it happens, then we have this sort of drills and emergency work that we do. Although we don't provide, my organization doesn't provide emergency funds or emergency equipment, but we do work on emergency situations to support member states in doing in taking the right decisions at the right moment.
Thank you very much, Dario. Thank you also for the work that you're doing right now, especially with lots of going on. I think we can all agree that, it's very vital to have your role right now in UN and, trying to do something very impactful. So thank you very much for your work, Dario.
We
And
try
it's
hard.
nice to really
That's
hear
it's
it
a
from you.
teamwork.
Yes, yes.
All right. So it's really interesting, Dario, especially hearing how dynamic your work is on your end. So speaking of the Youth Voice competition, we'd like to ask from your perspective, what is the Youth Voice global competition and why does it exist?
You see, I started. I was one of the first organizations in supporting, and personally as well, in supporting this when it was launched a few years ago. And my view is a very good platform for ideas and projects coming from young people like yourselves to go on the global stage and get some visibility. Um, and when we started, it was, it's always difficult to go and find. There are other uh, um, associations or initiatives for young people to come. But what I like about this one is the pragmatic aspects, because what we need is, certainly we need policy, we need a lot of stuff, etc. We need discussions, but we really need as well a lot of pragmatic solutions. And that's the work that the team here with me have been doing for years now, is to bring forward pragmatic, easily implementable solutions that actually can make a difference. Because every small change, it's true that you need macro changes at the macro level, but you need as well at the micro level, and that's where a lot of these things are. And so that's what intrigued me, and what I liked it is about this bottom-up approach that this the youth voice competition brings to the table, and the pragmatic aspects, concrete projects, real solutions, stuff that actually works in everyday life and then can be easily implemented. That, I think, that is puts this initiative a bit, sets it apart from some of the others.
Thank you very much, Dario. So, and I think I have to agree because personally, when we joined last year's competition, it was also a very good platform for us to really showcase what we're doing for our own communities. And to be honest, our impact is not that big when you compare it to United to the world or even to our country, but then it surely is making an impact to our community. And I think that alone is very important.
I agree.
And we have youth voice competition to thank for that.
Remember,
So
many small rivers do a big river. So
yes, yeah, that's a nice point. So I think we're gonna build on that. So Dario, you've been such a strong supporter of the youth voice competition. You even flew all the way to Chengdu, China to serve as a judge for the first ever global finals back in 2023. Would
right.
you be open to sharing your thoughts on the finalists' projects, these pragmatic solutions that you were referring to? What are your thoughts and what kind of work tends to catch your eye?
Sure. I think it was a mixed bag. I mean, it was the first time, and so even the organizers and we, the judges ourselves, we had to figure it out as we were there, really. And that was, I think, it was interesting because the projects that were presented were a different nature. Some of them were very much advanced. They have already IP protection, et cetera, et cetera. Some of the others are more ideas. And so you had to compare ideas with projects that were already being implemented and were already having an impact, as you say, at the community level or larger. I remember some of the projects, they had some patents already that were been patented domestically. And so it was very difficult to distinguish between the two, but because they're at different stages. And I think that's something that, and there were as well the nature, from digital technologies to more traditional technologies, etc. And so that was a very challenging to choose the finalists. In fact, I think at the end we kind of tried to uh, congratulate and make sure that all those participated had some recognition because of the word of that difference. And I think with the more you turn around and the more of these competitions will be held, the better that process will become in selecting and bringing forward some of the ideas, because it's not a question that certain ideas are better than others. I think it's certain ideas are less advanced than others and need different support than others. And so that is what you want to understand when bringing projects to such a competition is, right, why are you bringing this project to this competition? What you're looking for: funding, visibility, marketing support, legal support, for example, in establishing or having patents elsewhere. Those are all very different needs, all legitimate, but different. Support to structuring as well some of the ideas. Some of the ideas that the young people brought, they were fairly unstructured, if you want, and to bring them forward, you need a different type of support. So I think that is something that the competition and over time will need to think about, is how do we want to orient, whether do we want to specialize it in some way, or do we want to keep it like that and just being a platform where you bring up ideas and then you follow up individually whatever their needs are.
Thank you very much, Dario. So I think that's also very helpful to know, especially that we're opening another batch for this year. And as you mentioned, there are a lot of solutions out there. And if we are to ask you, what do you think is the most impactful aspect? Like, for example, if you hear a solution being presented to you done by a youth or young leader, what is something that you're looking for? And that's something that the applicants would want to know.
You really want to know my answer? I have two points. The first
It's
one
okay.
is replicability. I mean, if you really want to have an impact, that solution has to be easily replicable elsewhere. Because what you need in the energy transition is scale. And so there are many solutions which are tailored to individual communities, which is fine. Nobody says they are not good. But if you want to have impact, you need to have scalability. Scalability does not apply to everything because many solutions are context based and they are therefore very difficult to scale. Some of the other solutions are not context based and they are easily scalable. So that's one aspect. And the second aspect, and I think this is as well a very, very important, is not the individual solution, is you guys, is everybody who brings there, is other young people look at you and they are inspired. The inspiration that people like you bring to the new generation, or we're working, we have ideas, we want to bring forward those ideas. It's very hard to bring new ideas. It's always been hard. It's not harder now than it was in the past, but it's always hard to bring up new ideas, change how things are done, and convince people, find money, etc., etc. And I think that is that everybody who participates in the competition can contribute, is to create that sense of inspiration, is to inspire other young people today, not to participate necessarily to the competition, but in their everyday lives to bring change, to work hard, to learn, to understand what's going on, to be engaged, and to bring the energy transition forward. Not necessarily for the visibility again or to participate in the Youth Voice competition. That is not the point of it. The point of this is have young people like you guys and more engaged, because that is scalability. You're not scaling a solution, you are scaling inspiration, and that's what we need.
Wow, that's so powerful, scaling not just solution but also inspiration for other youth to take the lead.
All right, so thank you so much, Dario. So we also love to open the floor to the perspectives from young participants and advocates. So Dilnaza, I'm recognizing Dilnaza. She's
Yes,
here,
of course.
and what she's one of our global final
Very nice to
participants.
see you.
She presented a biofuel project back then. Now she's also one of our youth ambassadors, and last year she shared her thoughts at Asia Pacific Energy Week on how young people can help drive the energy transition.
Hello, thank you so much.
How are
I'm
you, Dilnaza?
really glad to join this interview today. So basically, I want to introduce myself briefly so that you would continue further. I'm very honored to meet you today uh, during this interview. I've had an honor to meet you during the 2024 ISETS-ESCAP Youth Voice
Indeed.
competition. Ever since then, I was volunteering for the International Society for Energy Transition Studies. I've
Mhm.
also been promoted as an ambassador, and currently I'm also an organizer for the future competitions. In terms of the
Congratulations.
question, yeah, thank you so much. In terms of the question I wanted to ask, ever
Yeah,
since uh, for young people who already have some working solutions, what are the most effective ways to engage with organizations such as UNECE or ESCAP
mhm,
for their ideas to actually influence the policy making and funding decisions?
sure. So thank you, Dilnaza, and great to see you again. And so we in UNEC we have established this few years now two different group, what we call the group of experts, young experts. One is on resource management, and the other one is on energy systems, which is people who are doing, finishing up masters or the PhDs or young professionals already working, or or students doing postdoc, university, who are interested in participating and in supporting the work that we do in bringing the youth view, including the youth solutions to the table. And so they are independent groups. They are part of our, if you want, machinery. We work with more than 1,500 experts around the world, and on specific issues which the member states ask us to work on. Energy efficiency in buildings, digitalization, demand response models, whatever you name it, the role of hydrogen in the energy transition, etc., etc., etc. So what we do around these issues that the member states ask us to work on, we create group of experts. We assemble on a voluntary basis who want to contribute. And that is where people bring solutions, whether are technical solutions, technology solutions, for example, or whether are business models, or whether is new ideas around how to structure policy frameworks and that kind of stuff. And so the reason why we brought these young experts, they work inside within each other, but then they participate in the mix, if you want, group of experts, where you have, there is no distinction of age and there is no distinction of nationality, nothing as such, and everybody can bring their own contribution, their own perspective. And so the way that young people with solutions can influence is by participating in this group of experts, or in this, in these sessions, bringing their solutions forward, contributing to reports, contributing to that kind of stuff. So that is the way they can come. Then ESCAP is very similar, if you want. We are not funding organizations like funds with, like the Green Environmental Fund or the World Bank or whatever. So we don't have money to finance those solutions, but we can work on the young on those solutions to bring them forward to the attention of policymakers, to the attention of other stakeholders, not only policymakers, but other stakeholders, because we work a lot with companies, for example, and they are obviously part of our stakeholders. And so they, if there is something interesting, then that creates the opportunity to discuss about with companies who are actually going to do, or project sponsors, or local administrations or national governments, who at the end of the day are the guys who will actually take the decision on those solutions.
Thank you so much. It's a very inspiring answer. I will try to apply as well.
Thank you, Dinaza.
Thanks, Delnaza. So I think that's a very nice question, and I think most of young people would love to hear that as well, because it's also an opportunity for us to really contribute to the change that we need to do in our community. And again, thank you very much, Elnaza, for also taking the time to be with us today. So for now, I think we're gonna open our floor to the questions from the audience if we have any. So if you have any questions, so to Dario, that you think you would want answered, then it's now time for you to unmute yourself. Just raise your hands and we'll unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, we have Meow Meow. If I'm pronouncing it correctly, you can unmute yourself.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, very
Yes.
well.
Oh, oh, okay. Thank you very much, and nice to meet you again, Dario, online. I joined this competition as a participant in 2023, and now I'm part of the Youth Voice organizing team. So, from your perspective, what role can platforms like ours play, not only in discovering talent, but also in nurturing long-term innovators in climate and energy space? I'm so curious.
Thanks, Mima, and congratulations to you too. It's great to see that people who were, who we met 23, 2, 3 years down the road, they are still engaged, which means that you find value in being here. And that's exactly, I think the answer to your question comes from you and Dilnaza, really, why you stick around, because it's helpful, because it's useful, because you find value into this platform, and not only the platform but the work that comes after the competition. I think the answer to your question is, besides bringing solutions and giving visibility to people who have ideas, etc. I think the as I said before, the real good value is the network, is you participating in an ever growing network of young people with ideas that can help each other. Because many times, you might be looking at you might have a project, but you are stuck with a certain part and you don't know how to find a solution, find to that issue. And then maybe because you're part of a network, you find somebody else who has found, who has encountered the same problem elsewhere and has solved it. And you can learn from that. Or it's a learning platform as well for you, for young people, to solve issues and to help each other in creating, in supporting. It's a bit and I think that is a very important role besides the competition. The competition is great because you have it creates excitement, and it brings people, and it calls up for new people, and you see there is this discovery, there is new solutions, etc., etc. But what actually builds is what happens outside of the competition throughout the year. Is you guys coming together, you are from the Philippines, from China, from Kazakhstan, and then you all bring your own experience, you all bring your own knowledge, you all bring your own views, and then your solutions, and then by combining them you are able to create, to help each other progress faster than just progressing alone. If you were alone, I mean, you hit a lot of stumbling blocks, and you can learn from others who instead have already overcome those stumbling blocks, and that is a lot easier for you. It's less human energy intensive, and it's quicker. And I think that is a great added value of the platform, but of the network, if you want, not the platform, but the network that the platform allows such a network to create. And that is the reason why we created this group of experts, because two brains is not just 1 + 1, but is actually 1 + 2, because by the interaction you create value. It just to putting brains together is the interaction that those brains create that actually is very positive and is very real value of the network that the platform allows to create.
Thank you, Dario. I totally agree with you. I think the platform or network is is to get us together, and maybe we get together to make a bigger progress, as you said.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dario and Meow Meow, for your, insightful exchange. And I think I just want to add as well, because I think Dario really made a very amazing point for us to really ponder what's after the Youth Voice competition. Because actually, last year, when during our competition, we met with fellow innovators whom we are friends with until now. And I think that's so important because, as you mentioned, this network also helps us conserve energy. But not
Right.
energy like the real energy, but human energy that could also help us, advocate or amplify the impact that we're doing. And we are glad that we're able to have that in the Youth Voice competition. Like, I met Delnaza last year, but then we're still friends until now. Even some of the finalists last year, we hang out after the competition, send messages, updates on our projects, and I think that's the beautiful part. And I think we're just here to really help each other save energy, like
Exactly.
both two energies, the real
That's very
energy and
important.
the
That's a very
human
important
energy.
point, Augustus. And then think of, well, is when you hit a stumbling block, like everybody, in your career, in your project, in your life, and in anything, and then you have a network of people you can turn to and ask for help. That is, I can tell you one thing in life is probably the single most important thing that you can do besides, cultivating your own education, your own yourself, etc., etc. If there is something that throughout your life will help you, is a network of people that that you can count on. That has a tremendous value.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dario. That's so insightful and also very close to the heart. I think we're gonna proceed now to the question of Gia Gia. I can
Hello.
introduce yourself also
Yeah.
so we know how to pronounce it. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, Dario and everyone. This is Jia Li. I'm an oil artist supporting as a volunteer in this year's youth competition. I'm also a young professor at a university who's been studying energy transition for over a decade, and I'm a mother of twins. So as I create my series of paintings for this competition, I keep asking myself, how can art connect with energy transition? From your experience, is there any artwork that has truly resonated with you when it comes to sustainability and thinking about future generations? Thank you.
Thank you, Jaja. I think that is a very interesting question. Because very little in my work I talk about art, which is which I think is wrong, because you see the energy transition is about our lifestyle, and so it's not only a rational thing, it's an emotional thing as well. And therefore, and many times we are not able to communicate through language, but through art, which speaks to our emotions. And so having an artistic dimension to the energy transition is very important. I like, thinking of a response. If in traditional art, I would say, or if you want past artistic forms, I think art linked to Shinto is something very interesting. Shintoism is a religious credence in Japan, and Shinto believes that there is connection between, we are all part of one single system, and then you see these beautiful gates, red gates in the middle of nature, in the middle of a forest or on a lake, that symbolize, and they are supremely elegant, beautiful, and then in these beautiful landscapes. And when you look at them, you see harmony and you see integration of human and nature. Too much of our energy transition, of our energy life, is about human against nature, extracting value from nature, whether it's coal, whether it's oil, but now minerals. It's always, it's instead, and I think we start thinking and changing our paradigms, but not nature as a pool of resources, but nature as part of ourselves, and we part of nature. And I think the artistic expression linked to Shinto religion is very much so, where everything is part of unique thing, and it is supremely beautiful. Uh, more more modern. I'm trying to think about when it comes to the energy transition and more modern forms of art. I like, you see, I think it's very interesting the work that Eliasson does. I don't know if you know, is Ice Watch. You should look at. So she displays um, blocks of ice coming from Greenland and other places in capitals. And this block of ice, because of the temperature, they start melting. And I think that is a show of one, the climate change and the impact on our world, but at the same time, it brings as well the perspective of um, what should we be doing to support that. And I think that is a very powerful message that she sends, and I think we should have more of that, because people need to feel that the energy transition is as well as a lifestyle transition, is a social transition. It's not only a question of technology, it's not only a question of policy. It is as well our lifestyle, how we live and how we want to, how our relationship to nature will go. Take all the issues around biodiversity, and the loss of biodiversity that over the last 50 years has increased so much. The role of plastics, etc. So all of those issues which impact nature need to fuel, in my view, rethinking of our relationship towards nature. And I think this is the role that you, young people, have to spearhead, have to bring forward, is a new view of how we should relate ourselves to nature. For too long time, we've been seeing nature as wealth to be exploited and to be used, etc. And I think we arrived at the point that our technologies are very good, and then our role on the world is such that we need to think about changing our relationship towards nature and have a different relationship if we want to save the planet going forward. And I think here you have a big role to play, because you come from a blank slate. You have no embedded interests. You knew you are projecting yourself in 50, 70, 80, maybe 100 years. Who knows how long you're going to live? But it's a very long period of time in front of you. And so the question you should be asking yourself is, how do I want to use that time? So what we're doing here, my work is to help the world transition. Your work is to make a new world. It's different.
Thank you so much, Dario. I really agree with your view. That is, you combine the social science with the natural resource and also the lifestyles of the human being. And you also encourage me to carry on my art. Okay. For example, there's one, I'm not sure whether you can see, it's still very wet. Okay. So you also give example of iceberg, but here
Right.
is my first painting. It's about the name of it. It's the Unwanted Linden. So the point of view is that it's about a intergenerational, okay,
Right.
transmission of the wisdom. So that is in Deutsch. It's like beneath the linden tree. So
Right.
and I will have a couple of painting afterwards, and I hope all of you can enjoy and
Right.
have more thoughts on that. Thank you
You
so much.
should definitely continue and get other people, get other artists on board.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I think we're wrapping up our interview with Dario as we have I think 2 minutes left. So I think for just for the last question, Dario, maybe what would be your message to any young person right now who would want to make a difference in their communities or whether they want to apply to the competition but they are unsure? Any words of inspiration for them?
Be
Maybe just few
courageous.
sentences. Sorry, again.
Be courageous. Have courage. A lot of people
Wow.
don't do that because they are, oh, the people are gonna take fun. They will, take fun of me, or I don't know how to present myself or whatever. I think take courage. Be on. Go on. It's that's what I say to my children. My children are a bit younger than you, but not don't much. But that's what I told them. Just take courage. Go on. What's the worst that can happen to you? Honestly, nothing. So be courageous. That's what we need. We need courage these days.
Thank you very much, Dario. I think that really sums up our discussion with you. And before we end, I'd like to request everyone to open their cameras and put on their best smile. So we're gonna have a souvenir photo with you, Dario, as
Sure.
just to really momentalize this
With
occasion.
pleasure.
So I'd like to request everyone to put on their smiles so we could picture. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, smile. One more, one more. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you so much, Dario, for your time
Thanks to
and
you.
for all the messages that I think it will really resonate to a lot of young people who are watching this
I hope so.
video.
And let's keep the good work up.
Yes.
Take care.
Thank you very much,
And
Dario.
maybe I'll
Thank
see
you
you in
very much.
Bangkok. Maybe I'll see you in
Yes,
Bangkok this year. Who
hopefully.
Thank
knows?
you.
Hopefully.
All
Hopefully,
right.
let's connect
Take
further. Thank
care.
you very much, everyone. And thank you very much,
Bye
Dario.
bye.
It's an
Thank you.
honor
Thank
and
you.
pleasure.
Thanks to you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.